How to master the art of sourdough baking. Understanding sourdough basics. Sourdough baking revolves around a natural leavening process using wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria. Unlike commercial yeast, sourdough starter cultures the dough, giving it a distinctive tangy flavor and chewy texture. Mastering sourdough requires understanding these microbial elements and how they interact with flour and water. Creating and maintaining a sourdough starter. A sourdough starter is a mixture of flour and water that captures wild yeast and bacteria from the environment. To create a starter, mix flour and water. Combine equal parts of flour and water in a jar. Whole grain flours like whole wheat or rye are ideal for capturing wild yeast. Feed regularly. Discard a portion of the mixture daily and add fresh flour and water. This process keeps the starter active and healthy. Monitor activity. Look for bubbles and a slight increase in volume, indicating active fermentation. The starter should have a pleasant, slightly sour smell. Perfecting the dough. Once your starter is ready, you can use it to bake sourdough bread. Follow these steps for perfect dough. Mix ingredients. Combine flour, water, starter, and salt in a bowl. Adjust water content based on flour type and hydration level. Knead the dough. Knead until the dough is smooth and elastic. This can take about 10 minutes by hand or 5 minutes with a mixer. Bulk fermentation. Allow the dough to rise at room temperature until it has doubled in size. This can take anywhere from 4 to 12 hours, depending on the ambient temperature and starter activity. Shaping and proofing. Proper shaping and proofing are key to achieving a well-structured loaf. Pre-shape and rest. Lightly shape the dough into a ball and let it rest for 20 to 30 minutes. This allows the dough to relax and makes shaping easier. Shape the dough. Shape the dough into your desired form, such as a round or oval loaf. Use a lightly floured surface and ensure a tight, smooth surface. Proof. Place the shaped dough in a proofing basket or bowl lined with a floured cloth. Let it rise for 1 to 2 hours at room temperature or refrigerate overnight for a more developed flavor. Scoring and baking. Scoring the dough and baking it properly are crucial for a well-baked sourdough loaf. Score the dough. Use a sharp blade or lame to make shallow cuts on the surface of the dough. Scoring helps the bread expand during baking and creates an appealing crust. Preheat the oven. Preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit, 230 degrees Celsius. Use a baking stone or Dutch oven for better heat retention and crust development. Bake the bread. Transfer the dough to the preheated oven. Bake for 30 to 45 minutes until the crust is deep brown and the internal temperature reaches 200 degrees Fahrenheit, 93 degrees Celsius. Let the bread cool on a wire rack before slicing. Troubleshooting common issues. Mastering sourdough may involve some trial and error. Common issues and solutions include dense bread. This may result from underproofing or insufficient kneading. Ensure the dough is fully risen and properly kneaded. Flat loaf. Flat loaves can result from overproofing or a weak starter. Adjust proofing times and feed your starter regularly. Soggy crust. A soggy crust may be due to high humidity or insufficient baking time. Ensure your oven is fully preheated and consider using a longer baking time. Experimenting with variations. Once you've mastered the basics, experiment with different flours, add-ins, and techniques. Try incorporating whole grains, seeds, nuts, or dried fruits into your dough. Adjust hydration levels for different textures and explore various baking methods to find your preferred style. Enjoying your sourdough. Sourdough bread is best enjoyed fresh, but it can also be toasted or used for sandwiches and soups. Store your bread in a paper bag or bread box to keep the crust crisp. For longer storage, slice and freeze the bread, then toast it when needed. Conclusion. Mastering the art of sourdough baking requires patience, practice, and an understanding of the natural fermentation process. By creating a healthy starter, perfecting your dough, and experimenting with techniques, you can achieve delicious, artisanal sourdough bread. Enjoy the process of baking and the rewarding taste of homemade sourdough.